Any questions on that? You.
Oh, I was just going to ask about the Twings.
Oh, okay.
You can breeze.
Yep. Can you kick that pole forward?
Yep.
Good. Twings. So the twing on the guy side is always down.
Always down.
And the twing on the sheet side is always off. So I shouldn't say always, because a couple of things you can do. One, if you are in really heavy breeze, you can choke them both. Just leave them both, at like 6 or 8 inches, and forget about it. Right? That's just one. It chokes the spinnaker down a little bit, and in really big breeze, you're probably, if you're overpowered, you don't need it. Right? So you can just choke them down and forget about it. The other thing is, if you are on, again, that tight reach, is to bring on the sheet, the spin sheet twing a little bit. It'll give that sail a little bit better shape, more of a jib shape rather than the spinnaker shape, and again, allow you to point a little bit better. Yeah.
And on twinging it on a tight reach, do you do that, even in relatively light air, just from a spin shape standpoint, will you twing it down?
In light air, probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, if we're doing a tight reach in light air, probably not.
No twing.
Yeah.
And then what if Jimmy is caught up to you?
Then we're like, why? How are they so freaking fast in downwind? Like, and then we turn on our engine. So Heather is surreptitiously saying,
somehow he's managed to train these seals to follow him to every regatta.
So you guys, that you missed it, Heather goes, do you want to talk about this at all? And just touches the centerboard, because I believe in bringing the centerboard up. A lot of people will not, or if you hear the centerboard go up behind you, because it'll make a thunk, and so like their centerboard's up, full centerboard up. So I generally do this all the way. It depends upon depends on the breeze, right? But I will say, in almost all the races this week, we've brought it all the way up. Once it gets think about the race that we've had the most breeze here, there we might not bring it up at all. So it's either all the way up or all the way down.
Just generally. So you have a little bit more mobility.
The reason to bring it up is it's less drag. Right now, there's trade-offs. Right, if you're what do you call it? Somebody who designs a sailboat, a engineer, naval architect. If you're a naval architect, they will tell you a boat is trade-offs. Right, it's all trade-offs, and so it is a foil shape. You get some lift, but I feel like I am just being pushed over the water. I want to get rid of that drag. I can come up or down a little bit also by just changing the boat, the heel on the boat, right? So if I want to come up a little bit and I don't want to use the rudder at all, right, I'm just going to heel the boat to windward a little bit, it's going to come up. Or if I want to come down, I'm going to heel to leeward a little bit, it's going to come down. I won't have moved the rudder at all, so I'm not creating that drag.
And are you having it up even on a really tight reach? You have it all the way up?
No. So as you then start to come up on a reach, you've got to put it down, and it's important if you are bringing it up, right? If you recognize that you're going to be on a reach, bring the board down before you get on that reach.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Pro tip.
Carves in and.
Yeah. Well, we had, depending on how the course, when we had some triangles out there, we had some tight spinnaker carries.
Yeah, and then our board was
I just heard always up. I was like, really?
Yeah. Then the board's down on the reach. Yeah. So, good. Any other questions?
You still had a question on the other controls.
Yep.
Oh,
yep.
yeah.
So before we go to the other controls, any questions on?
You on like a broad reach? Do you have your spinnaker up or down?
The
centerboard up and down. That's what I meant.
A broad reach up.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, basically, just to make sure I'm interpreting correctly, but when they're jibing downwind, the board is up.
Yes.
If you're doing like a triangle course and you've got a tight carry, which you're not really going to have if you're jibing downwind, in absence of a massive change in your wind, then the board is down if it's a tight carry.
If we're on a triangle course and it's set square, I am probably not bringing the board up on those.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think I just heard Jimmy talk about being sideswept. So you've got to remember, right? Since you don't have the center board in, you are going to be pushed down. So, but you need to know when to use that, and you can use that to your advantage sometime, because if what you can do then is point up a little higher, right? Pull a little bit farther forward, and now you've caught. I mean, that's generally a little faster point of sail. And then just you're gonna have a little bit of heel, and the bow is gonna point your boat in the right direction.
So you keep a little bit of heel just to counter the lack of board.
In the appropriate circumstance, yeah. Generally going downwind, I want to be flat. If when I see a picture of the fleet going downwind, the first thing I look at, I would say the first thing I look at is when I'm comparing myself to other boats is my mast the straightest mast out there, and then I'll look back and see these things, and generally it's straight up. So before I go to other controls, other questions?
Going back to the pole.
Yeah.
How much flex on the Forestay do you allow? On a tight reach.
Oh, how much is the pole sitting against the Forestay? I prefer none at all, right? It might just be there, it might be touching, but if it's on the Forestay, I will try to get it off the Forestay. I do not want it on the Forestay, because I'm thinking about the next maneuver, right? And the next maneuver is probably unfurling the jib or that sort of thing, and I don't want to have to worry about it at that point.
And then telltale positions, you like them right there. You got them up on the topping lift. You like them on the topping lift as opposed to like fixed to the pole somewhere?
Yes, absolutely. So I have one on the topping lift and one on the downhaul.
Okay.
Yeah, this boat doesn't have that bungee, but I have one above and one below. Yep.
I'm curious about. So I'm watching the telltales. I usually go by the curl.
Pull back. You what?
I go by the curl on the sail a lot.
For trimming?
But I'm looking at your telltales, and I haven't seen them perpendicular the whole time, and so I'm like, how,
So yeah, and I use for this, I like to use the cassette tape. The very, very light cassette tape moves a lot better for this purpose.
Yeah. So it would be. I'm just curious. I'm concrete. What should they be doing?
Flowing back, so you can sort of see they're moving now. Trim.
So now they're moving forward.
Yep, forward, just like that.
And is that what you want?
Yes.
Moving forward.
Yep.
Okay, because the wind's behind.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Perpendicular.
Yeah, just perpendicular to the pole.
Wait, that one.
Perpendicular to the pole. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to reinforce something you said about Evan's question on the pole. So if your pole is against your forestay, that's not going to hurt your performance until you go to unfurl the jib. So while you're sailing downwind and you're near the top mark, halfway down the leg, if the pole is putting pressure on the forestay, that is not reason for panic. That is not reason to make giant, hasty movements with your boat. It is reason to think, how am I going to get it off the forestay? But don't do that. Don't do it hastily. At an appropriate opportunity. There, you can see the situation. At an appropriate opportunity, pull it back a little bit. And in heavy air, that might be a two-person job. That might be the crew grabbing the guy forward of themselves and pulling back, while you pull the guy and put it in the cleat. Because if it's heavy enough that it's pressuring against the forestay and bending the forestay, that might be a two-person pull.
So what would you say is heavy? Like 16, 20?
Heavy depends on your crew. I mean, yeah, for me, it's
For you.
white caps with gusts on top of the white caps. But for the average crew, a little more than what we saw this week. Anyway, bottom line, anytime you go to grab that guy and you pull back, and it doesn't come with one hand, you say, I need some help. And the crew grabs the guy, and gives it a tug, and now you get two hands on it. It's easy, but don't make it a panic thing. You can sail downwind fast and safe with the pole on the forestay, but you can't unfurl your jib. So don't panic about it. Do it gently. Gentle is key downwind. Gentle, steady movement.
Yeah.
Any shaking or panicking you do is just boat lengths lost.
Yeah, it's better to and always say, just figure out what the steps are, and don't try to do them fast. Just do them right in a slow, maybe methodical manner, right? But it's better to do them in the right order. Pick a sequence that works for your muscle memory and works for what you're doing, and just go through them without regard to how fast you're doing them. It's much better to do smooth and steady, slow and steady on these maneuvers rather than fast and rocking the boat. And missing something, right? That's when you might get into trouble or you're losing boat lengths because, again, you're throwing off the dynamics, the water dynamics or naval architecture or whatever that is.
And I'll pile onto that. So if you look at Heather and Jeff as a crew, and then you look at Jimmy and me as a crew, you notice Heather standing on the centerboard trunk and the seat and moving her weight. If I do that, bad things happen, right? So I'm sitting on the centerboard and I just stand straight up on whichever side of the boom it is, and I'm doing everything very centered in the boat so that Jimmy is controlling all of those. If he needs me to move, I will, but it's more of a lean than it is a full move, just because my body mass is more than Heather's body mass. And so you need to figure out what works for your crew from that perspective as well.
But the rules don't change.
But the rules don't change. It's still
Gentle
the same
movements,
steps.
flat
Gentle,
boat.
yep.
So